Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwann, and welcome to Selling Power TV. Today we have the pleasure of meeting with Chris Champagne. He is a sales enablement specialist from Toronto.
Yes.
Welcome, Chris.
Great.
Welcome, Chris.
Great to be here, Gerhard.
And a little known fact, he's also a sommelier.
On the progression of becoming a sommelier, my level 1 is complete. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you brought up the idea in our conversation that salespeople need to become comfortable with being uncomfortable in order to win. Tell us about that concept and how did you come up with that?
Well, it's actually part of the theme for our conference here these last 2 days in San Francisco through one of the presenters that had spoke specifically about his discomfort that triggered a major change in his life that I resonated with, and it made me really connect to the last 30 days for me have been all about discomfort through an opportunity that I have with the Canadian Professional Sales Association, who I'm a partner and work with. Mm-hmm. There's a large client that we've been working with in Canada, and we've had the good fortune to deliver, I think, 7 sales training sessions to their sales leadership and their sales team. Everything's been going really well, positive feedback, and which led to an opportunity to actually deliver the content in French. Now, I grew up in Montreal. French was my second language. However, moved to Toronto. I've been in Toronto for the past 30 years, although I do have clients in Quebec. French wasn't using it on a regular basis. So the uncomfortable part for me was, okay, I'm going to deliver a training session in French, and I need to get ready for it. So the last 30 days have actually been delivering 3 training sessions en français. And for me, a real stretch in terms of my comfort zone. But the result was probably the most impactful 3 days I had with the team in Quebec City, where the feedback was overwhelmingly positive in terms of the benefit they got from the training program. And as a result, I guess the discomfort was validated through a good outcome from the client's point of view.
So, do you remember what you said in the opening in the meeting?
Yes, and in part of trying to, and having grown up in Quebec, there's a certain l'esprit d'équipe, a good team feeling. So I drew on that a little bit. That in the opening was referring to, I don't have it perfect. I'm a work in progress, and if there's maybe some words in French that I'm challenged with, if I could ask for your help to support me and give me what those words are, or share with me what those correct words were. And they were more than accommodating over the course of the 3 days together.
Do you actually, in your speech, when you deliver this in French, use like franglais?
A little, but I guess relatable to the audience that I was working with. Right. So there are some, I guess, common words in English that aren't necessarily translatable into French.
Right.
Training is one, but l'entraînement en français.
Right.
But there are definitely some commonalities. But that actually enabled the bonding, I think, to happen a little stronger within the group.
Right.
Is actually asking for their help, and they could tell sometimes when I stumbled, but all helping.
So on a psychological level, or on a self-talk level, it seems to me you were able to become aware of your inner critic that said, Chris, I don't think you can do this. And I have doubts that I'm going to be able to speak fluently in French throughout, a 1-day training? Or
3 days.
3-day training.
3 days,
right.
yes.
It's a lot. Right.
Yeah.
So how did you respond to that inner challenge? How did you transform that inner critic into the inner champion for Chris Champagne?
Yeah, great question. I think it was the process to get ready. First, the acceptance. Okay, we're going to do this. And number 2 was the preparation of the content. So watching the Montreal Canadiens game in French versus watching it in English. Reading the French version of the Canadian Professional Sales Association online, so becoming more fluid with the language. And then a few YouTubes, and ultimately I actually practiced speaking French with a couple of client meetings in advance, just to get myself more comfortable with speaking in French. So I think it was the process to get me ready, and then all the content that CPSA had provided with the PowerPoints and going through it, and the manual and the book itself, and connecting to that. And then the prep the night before, positive self-talk before I walked into the room to get myself in the right mental state. So there was a combination of a number of things to get ready.
So that's a very good professional example, but let's bring it to the personal level, which is really analogous. What drove you to the idea? How did you get the idea that you want to test out to be a wine connoisseur and become a sommelier?
It was actually a wine tour in Kelowna, British Columbia, in July last year. And we were on a wine tour, my wife and I, and the individual who was leading the tour was a level 3. And she could tell my curiosity, the way I looked and tasted, that there was a process that I went through. And she encouraged me, you should do this. You should go get your level 1. Now, I haven't written a test in probably, 30 years. I had to study. My daughter and my wife helped me study. But I was, I guess I took on the challenge to digest the material, more memory, then try and test the wine. That was pretty easy. But there definitely had to be an acceptance of, okay, I can do this, even though it's not something I'm comfortable with, but ultimately taking on the challenge. And when I got the result, 90% on the test, there was a little celebration that the stress and the preparation was worth. And obviously now, knowing a little bit more about wine, I can provide some perspective. But there definitely was anxiety that I needed to get my mind past more about the celebration and learning more about wine.
How would you explain to an audience, how would you pass on a really practical tip on how to think about wine in relationship to a good dinner?
Having the right selection of wine ultimately can bring out a better experience in terms of the wine connecting with the food, like having a nice full body cab and enjoying a nice steak. The combination together is kind of like 1 + 1 = 3. That the quality of a good, nice, robust cab with a nice, good quality, medium rare New York strip loin is like a marriage, and the 1 + 1 to 3 I think applies in terms of bringing out the better flavor in the steak, perhaps, but also the smoothness of the wine would also come through that as well.
So
together.
what about saumon fumé, smoked salmon? Would you pair that with a Chardonnay?
I have to admit, I have a seafood and fish allergy.
So you don't pair.
So I cannot provide a first-hand perspective, but a nice salmon, maybe with a more drier Sauvignon Blanc, might be a good match. I look forward to being able to answer that one once I've got my level 2.
Awesome. So let's wrap this up. But the lesson to be learned is what?
When presented with a challenge, there's a split-second moment that you need to determine, am I all in or not? And I think the moment that, and having more moments like that, reinforce actually the opportunity to get uncomfortable. So your gut might be telling you, I can't do this, but your brain, there's a way to make it happen. And I think through encouragement of others that you see as well, taking on significant challenges can also help reinforce, yeah, I can do that, and then doing the hard work to make it happen.
Do you have a website?
I do. Champagne Consulting Inc. Champagne Consulting Group.com is our new website. Actually, it just within the last 30 days is now up and running. thanks to Cam Parr and his group at Vital that enabled that to happen. So I'm excited now that I'll be able to blog about my Sales 3.0 experience on the website.
Merci beaucoup.
C'est bon, merci, Gerard. Merci beaucoup.
À la prochaine.
À la prochaine. Thank you.
Thank you.